All right, everybody. We have the pleasure to be sitting with a good friend of mine that I've known for probably 25 plus years, Trevor T.A. Two Claps Anderson. Great guy. Again, I wouldn't be sitting here if my kids didn't come to T.A. And work with him. You know, what I love about, T.A. and even the other two guys that we've talked to, he wants to get better at his craft. He's got some letters behind his name we'll talk about because of the work he's put in. He's also one of the top 50 Golf Digest golf fitness trainers in America. Huge accomplishment. Congrats on that.
Appreciate it.
He was just at the PGA Super Show this week doing a panel discussion with people. TA's guy, he's everywhere. He's a football guy, basketball guy, got some baseball players. We'll talk a little bit about it. But, TA, first of all, thanks for sitting down with us.
It's my honor, Coach Red. I appreciate it, man.
Man, no, it's my honor. Give us a scouting report on Two Claps.
Well, Coach TA Two Claps. I'm from Sarasota, Florida. In 1994, graduated from high school. Feels like it was last millennium, and I actually shortly thereafter is when I met you, at college. But I came up here to go to school at UCF. I had intentions on playing football and walking onto the team and all that. And although I wanted to come out for a spring, I realized I wasn't going to get a scholarship. And they said, "We love your enthusiasm, but maybe next year you can earn one." And I couldn't afford to do that. So I worked as a valet parker, parking cars downtown. I would run the streets all night long. I'd see all my friends. I'd wave to them as I ran past. But that's how I put myself through school. I also think that kind of set my base foundation for my sports performance, too, because I use that as a workout, a nightly workout, when I was running top speed, quarter mile at a time, and really building my fitness and my athleticism. Fast forward, I graduate, and I decide, hey, listen, I'm too athletic to be behind a desk. So I decided to go play professional football. A good friend of mine at the time, Marquette Smith, from back at UCF, he was going to some workouts at the Senior Bowl. And he said, hey, you should come up to Mobile with me and just hand the ball off to me, be my quarterback. Maybe they'll want to look at you, too. I said, all right, man, why not? So ended up going up there with him, and they said, can you run? Can you catch? I said, yes, sir. They said, well, let's run a 40 and see how you do. I ran 4.58 on a wet day. I had never really run an official 40 before. I didn't even know if that was good. Come to find out, for a guy my size, that was pretty good. And I got signed by the Iowa Barnstormers to come up and start playing pro football. Played football for a few different teams for 3 years, and then I started playing the extreme basketball sport of slam ball, which some people have seen before. But slam ball really set a foundation. I got on TV. I was able to play a sport professionally that I felt like was built for me. But more importantly, it gave me a platform to be able to reach kids and young people, because I was also teaching middle school and so forth. So it gave me a platform to say, hey, listen, I made it in one way, shape, or form. You can make it too, and I want to help you get there. So my parents always preached to me growing up, better every day. So that's my mantra, my motto, and it's the name of my company. Yep. And, no matter who I touch or who I come in contact with, whether they're a professional or somebody just starting out, or even if it's good friends just chopping it up, we always want to help each other get better every day. So that's very important to me.
I love it. And I use that with my kids sometimes, hey, let's get better today.
That's it.
I don't say it exactly better every day, but, it's definitely about putting one day on top of the other.
Stacking them up, yeah.
Stacking them up. And, my daughters play volleyball, and it's just one of those things that you just have to keep that consistency, and eventually you're going to get to the mountaintop.
That's right.
Talk about sports performance. How did you say, you know what, I'm going to open this beautiful facility? I know we were in a warehouse over off 34th Street. That,
That's right.
It was a little bit not as glamorous, but, we made it work. And, I think that's, not necessarily the location. It's the people that make the location. So talk about, your evolution into this, and, you're with Apex and doing some great things with them and Under Armour. So talk about kind of that evolution.
Sure. I worked for the city of Orlando many years ago, coming out of college, and while I was back and forth between playing football, I was working with the city of Orlando. And then, we had a small weight room at Dover Shores, the facility there, and people would ask me to help them take them through the paces. Now, I'm 21 years old, and I'm looking around like, hey, man, listen, I can do this. Now, I had been training people, since 1996. But I finally got into an environment where I was like, okay, I can really make a business out of this. and the opportunities started to present themselves because there's young people trying to get better everywhere. But as you fast forward, I made a decision. I said, you know what, if I want to really, really do this, although I love the community and the community center and the kids here, I've got to get out to start building my career in a facility that's going to allow me to build my training clientele, my sports performance clientele, what have you. So I took a couple ads. I ended up working at a gym in Winter Park that I ultimately would own. Right, I started working there in 2003, and I bought it in 2007. I had my first gym in Winter Park, and it was better every day. Right, so what I found was, and that was coming right up into where the economy crashed and all that, and it was kind of hard to stay afloat during that time. But I got an amazing opportunity to go work at IMG Academies down in Bradenton. They needed somebody to run their performance program up there, and I said, okay, it's hometown for me. I'm from Sarasota, Florida, so Sarasota Bradenton is like my hometown. Got a chance to go back for 3 years, spend time with some of the best athletes in the world and the best facilities in the world, and I got a chance to see, truly what sports performance looked like at a global level and also at the highest level out there. The most expensive private school in the world. They had every bell and whistle, every resource. I remember being at my own gym before I closed it to go to IMG. I remember just trying to save up, $35, $40 to get a 10-pound medicine ball, right? But I had countless medicine balls when I got to IMG. But at the same time, I still cleaned up all the weights. I folded up the towels. I did all the stuff like a gym owner, because I have a gym owner mentality, right? An ownership mentality. And I took that into my performance career at IMG. And then subsequently, when I left IMG, I was able to come back to Orlando, leverage the 15 years plus of relationships I'd already created in the city, and come back with that, that newly acquired knowledge and experience from IMG, and then everything just started to explode. So when I got back to town, I really started to take off, and that's when I really leaned into golf, and I really leaned into the combine training. I really leaned into working with my baseball players and some Hall of Famers with small groups of very good baseball players. So. But my biggest passion was being able to work with people like your daughters and the kids that are just trying to be like these athletes that they see on TV. So I could say I've seen the performance world from a lot of different sides, from the just wanting to be involved side to the, hey, I'm involved, I'm the guy, I'm working with Under Armour, I'm on the field, I'm running performance for the Under Armour All-America, I'm doing all this stuff. And then, but how do I take that same passion, energy, and enthusiasm and put it onto the 7-year-old who just wants to make the team, or just wants to learn how to dribble the ball with their left hand, or wants to be strong enough to be able to, not injure themselves when they start playing sports. So that's been my passion for many years now.
So how important is it, our goal at Coach Reddick Company is to give as much information on as many different topics in high school as we can. And, even the younger kids, talk about the importance, in sports performance kind of blown up in the last 10, 15 years,
Sure.
right? So talk about the importance of sports performance and the kind of different areas of an athlete's body that it helps or improves.
Yeah, listen, sports performance is, if you're going to play sports, you have to have a knowledgeable, regimented plan that helps you get better. And here's the reason why, especially nowadays. You and I growing up, we'd find a ball. It didn't matter if it was a beautiful ball, if it was an NBA, any kind of ball we could find. If it bounced, we were shooting it, we were dribbling it, right? And we got out and we played. There wasn't always a referee on the court or a scoreboard. Yeah, we played 21, or, we played first 1 to 11, win by 2, or what have you. But we went out and played. This newer generation of young people, and of no fault of their own, they don't just go play. And the creativity we had, the different crossover moves and the jump shots and all the different stuff that we were doing was all because of the fact that we had a lot of time to mess up, all right? And the fact that we were playing on a consistent basis, rain, sleet, or snow, right? No matter what the situation was, inside or outside, we were playing. So that's how we were actually keeping ourselves healthy. Nowadays, these kids focus on school, and the next thing you know, they go to a coach or a trainer or a teacher, and every time they get on the field, there's a referee. Every time they get on the court, there's a referee. Sports performance is so important is because the work you do behind closed doors is going to determine your success out there. Now, there are kids that have some just tremendous, athletic, natural talent, right? But that's only going to take them so far. What I like to do is I like to help educate, because I'm an educator, right? I love teaching. So I love educating athletes on what their body needs to be able to do to function, to achieve what they're trying to achieve in their respective sport. The reason why it's important to have somebody that's knowledgeable and understands is because there's a lot of copycats out there. You got your Instagram, your TikToks, and all this other stuff where people just go, that looks like a cool joke, I'm gonna do it too. But don't understand the why or the how, they just see the what. Right? So I like to think of myself as not just a what specialist, but a why and a how specialist. I wanna be able to give young athletes a systematic approach. I wanna be able to honor their long-term athletic development, not just saying, hey, you're a stud 8-year-old, I need you to pitch 7 days in a row. I want to truly be able to develop a young athlete through scientific long-term athletic development to help give them the best chance for when they get in their most critical years, when they need to be recruited, when it's time for them to go to college, things of that nature. And, if they do this thing right, if they can stay healthy, they can stay knowledgeable, they're going to have a good chance to be able to, earn an opportunity for themselves on the next level. And then potentially with this NIL stuff, I know that's a whole other conversation, but being able to actually make money as soon as they get to college, as opposed to saying, I need to be successful and not make money until I'm a professional.
Right. You just mentioned there's copycats out there. There's people that, with all the social media, they can kind of make a name for themselves or try to look like they know what they're doing. You got some letters behind your name. When you put your signature on paper, tell us about those letters. What does that mean to you, getting that certification?
Right.
And then what does that mean for the kids or your clients that come into this building?
Sure. Well, CSCS are the letters behind my name, and that means Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. That's through the NSCA, the National Strength and Conditioning Association. I've had this certification since 2003. This is the gold standard for sports performance certification. The reason why I wanted that one is because it was the gold standard. At the time, there were only between 18 and 19,000 people in the world that had this certification, and they were the king of the mountain. And I said, you know what? I was going out to play slam ball, and I said, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go to practice, and before and after practice, I'm going to be in the Burbank Library studying for my certification. And when I get back from slam ball, I'm taking my test, and I'm going to have my new last name, my CSCS, behind my name. And I made a determination that that's what I was going to do, Coach Red, and I did that. And I stepped up, and I was in that Burbank Library every day for hours studying that. And when I got back, I took that test, had that CSCS. It's a badge of honor for me. And what it does for you in the industry is it gives you credibility immediately, because they know, A, you must have a 4-year degree to be able to even be eligible for that. And it also means that you've been able to study to the point where you understand not just how to, running form and technique, but you truly understand the body, the biomechanics, you understand the physiology, you understand the kinetics, you understand everything that's necessary for you to be a good athlete. But not just that. I was always in the community. I was always building relationships. I've always been that guy, as you know, just like yourself. And that's part of the reason why we have the ability to sit here right now and do this. The part that they don't teach you in school and that you don't just learn in certifications is how to connect with the public, how to connect with the kids, how to connect with the parents. And, there's no way to buy that experience and no way to buy that wisdom. And I try to just lean into those personal relationships and just really be a community person as much as I always could, serve as much as I could to create the best opportunities. So, yes, CSCS, that gets you in the door in circles that you might not have otherwise been in. It gives you immediate credibility. At the same time, it says, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. But when you can demonstrate all the exercises, when you can perform what you prescribe, when you can go dunk a ball or hit a home run or hit a golf ball 300 yards with your clients, those are types of things that they find value in. They say, okay, I can trust this guy. So I think kids these days, they really need to find somebody that they can trust, that they've seen doing it, been in the trenches with them, and somebody that they know has their best interests at hand.
Right. And, you mentioned being a teacher earlier. I mean, people walk in there and goes, oh, it's a gym. No, it's your classroom.
That's right.
This is where you teach all those things. Because sports performance, not only about just getting bigger, stronger, faster.
Right.
It's about injury prevention.
That's right.
It's, using your body to the best of its ability to do whatever you need to do. So you mentioned mechanics and some different stuff. If I have Caitlin Clark and Steph Curry, both grade 3, how do you train those two to get the best out? You got a female and a male.
Yeah.
So obviously with your training and your background, you understand the differences.
Sure.
Because when I bring my female daughters to come work for volleyball, I want to bring them to a trainer like yourself that understands they load different. Their mechanics are different. You know, women are more, have a greater tendency to blow ACLs,
That's it.
right?
That's it.
So how do you, you know, make workout plans, or how do you, you know, approach that when you work with your students and clients?
That's a great question. First off, you know, the difference between females and males in this in the sports world is tremendous. It's way more than someone being stronger or weaker or taller or shorter. Both of them clearly are very good basketball players, right? They're the best shooters in their game. You know, but one thing about women, after they reach a certain age, their hips at certain times of the month are wider and narrow. When you start talking about non-contact injuries, there are studies out there for the propensity for non-contact, like ACL injuries and knee injuries, for a female athlete, whether it be a basketball player, volleyball player, soccer player. They skyrocket during certain times of the month because the biomechanics change. And you have to be able to honor every aspect of that when you're dealing with a young female client. You also must know that I can't train everybody the same, even from Steph Curry to Russell Westbrook. I can't train them the same. They're not the same type of an athlete, right? So we have to make sure that we honor not only the individual person, whether they're female or male, but we have to honor the individual person as well. One thing you notice and understand is, like, when you look at two athletes, they may look the same, but you truly have to look at their movement patterns. And the reason why I screen and I'm very deliberate on how I assess an athlete is because I want to find out, what do you instinctively do well already? I don't want to say, okay, here's, when you walk in the door, we're going to do these three things. No worries. We're going to do these three things. And I could be coaching you straight out of your most valuable instincts. I want to make sure I can identify what it is that you do first. I'm going to see what you do well. I'm going to see where you need to kind of pick it up a notch. And we're going to use the stuff that you have the strengths with to really build it as a foundation. The stuff that you need to work on, we're going to start building that stuff up, whether it be through corrective exercise that we add to our daily routine, or giving you some specific activation and warm-up, dynamic warm-up exercises that are going to help prevent any challenges coming from those deficits. And what I found to be successful is that, you know, I've seen so many athletes, and thousands of athletes, that the things that used to be the corrective exercise with this younger generation have become the foundational movement patterns that we need for all athletes. So I've turned some of my corrective exercise protocols from 10 years ago into dynamic warm-up and activation routines for all of my athletes, because everybody needs it. So when you're looking at it from athlete to athlete, obviously you have to honor the sport that they're playing, right? I don't want to take a 100-meter sprinter and just run 10 miles with them. Right. I have to be specific to the sport in one, sense of the word. But in my world, 70% of what I do is pretty much similar across the board with different sports. Might sound crazy, but 70% of what I do with a PGA Tour player, golfer, is the same stuff I might do with an NFL player.
Right.
But that top 30% starts to become specific to rotation or stability that they need for their craft. They're going to get their craft when they go to the football field, right? They're going to get their craft when they go to the golf course. But what we have to do, we're at task inside the performance training environment to make sure that we create a platform so when we deliver them to the coach, right, to the sport coach, that they can do all the things necessary to not only perform their craft or their task, but to be able to make the necessary changes in real time that are going to help them be successful.
So, you talked about the evaluation. So, when you get an athlete that walks through the door and is just chiseled, such as myself.
Of course, yeah. Specimen.
A specimen. It's just, I should be on a poster somewhere for what not to do. But when a kid comes in and you're evaluating, how detailed is that evaluation process? How long does it take, for you to kind of understand them? Or is it maybe over a week or 2 week period to really understand their movement, what they do well, what they don't do well, to be able to formulate that plan?
Good question.
For their success?
I've been able to take, for instance, for my golfers, I have a 10-piece, what I call golf athleticism screen, golf athleticism assessment, right? I want to test their stability, mobility, and coordination, right? I have 10 different exercises that are going to help me determine that I can do that within 30 minutes. I can do from a single leg balance to a overhead squat, right, to a hip mobility, shoulder mobility, torso rotation. I can see all of these things. And I used to say, Red, that by doing this screen, it paints a beautiful picture of exactly, what an athlete is going to do and what they're going to move like. But now I'm convinced it actually is a video for me. It's a motion picture for me. I can see through the evaluation process exactly the tendencies that an athlete's going to have with their golf swing through this screen. And I've done the same thing with baseball. I've done the same thing with football. We all, as athletes, have natural tendencies. If we're good athletes like us, then we have natural compensatory patterns, right? We're always compensating to try to create something. Now, look, I knew I didn't have the best left hand in the world, but here's how I compensated, Red. If I got 1 foot in the paint, I could cross over, but if I had to put it on the ground 2 more times, that wasn't it. You remember me, right? But if I crossed over, I put 1 foot on the ground, I'm in the air now, right? And that's how I avoided some of my weaker points. It's out whenever you're competing and whenever you are under tension or stress or duress or a specific situation or you have to perform, we will always default to our instincts.
Right.
Therefore, our training environment must be related to us developing the instincts that we want to be able to be revealed when it's time for those situations and scenarios. And what I found to be successful through the screening process is I can identify a lot of those natural instincts by how they move before they ever put a club in their hand, before they ever put a basketball in their hand. And we want to start working on those things. When I identify some deficits, say out of those 10 movement patterns, I see 3 of them that just don't look good, right? I have 3 or 4 different corrective exercises for each one of those deficits, and we incorporate that into the daily routine to help them kind of, not erase them, but help them deal with them so that they no longer hold them back and they can start to achieve higher levels of success.
Awesome. Now, I know, sports performance can cover a lot of different areas.
Sure.
If I'm a mom or dad sitting at home and my kid is, maybe in middle school or just starting high school, the benefits of coming, especially with today's kids, right? They got probably some of the best, thumbs in the world.
Thumb agility,
Thumb agility, amazing. But can't jump a rope.
That's right.
Right? So why is it important, for kids to get in here, if they have a dream to play in college or, even some of them, even further, why is it important for them to, find somebody, such as yourself that has the knowledge, the passion and the drive to help make kids, better? Why is it important for them to, reach out?
It's so important because, Coach Red, there are specific, in the long-term athletic development models, there are some specific windows of trainability that you must be able to hit to maximize overall athletic performance. Now, you and I, because we just played, right, or rode our bike and dug a hole in the backyard, and that hole became the ramp, and then we tried to jump over the hole, and we crashed out, but that's okay because we got back up, we put our chain back on, and we kept it going. There was a fearlessness, there was a deliberate nature to it. There was a anticipation that we had just to get out there, and we just had a good time doing it. A lot of those guardrails have been put in place now where we didn't have those guardrails. So now we almost have to create new opportunities for kids to get the play that they should have been having all along because of where the culture of our world is right now. So we've created classes. I have a class every day at 5:30 to 6:30 on Monday through Thursday, which is just young athletes, right? And we're focusing on like having a good time with agility, footwork, speed, baseline strength. We're not trying to max out. We're trying to slam a 10-pound medicine ball, and we're trying to, because the rigors of whatever sport you're playing, the forces that you're putting on yourself when you change direction are a whole lot greater than a 10-pound medicine ball, right? So you have to be safe with it, but at the same time, you have to engage in stability, mobility, and coordination. On top of that, you have to be in an environment where it's okay to mess up. And I think that our parents now, and we look around, but we're some of those parents, we're getting our kids involved in sports, and we're handing them over to a coach, and most of what they do is play games. The least of what they do is actually practice. Right. And so we're creating a do well or be left behind mentality, and then it's year round. So, but young baseball arms, they're throwing for 12 months, where we throw for 4 or 5 months, and then we sit down and go play football, and then we shoot a basketball, and now we're back to throwing again. I think creating an opportunity for a young person to get in an environment like this with a coach like me or some of the amazing coaches that you've had on the podcast, I think it's important because it takes the guesswork out for the parents. Right. I think it gives them a different voice. I've always, through the years, I've always said, I'm like the cool big brother, the cool uncle. I'm like the cool other dad now, since I'm aging up. Yeah. So, but I think that hearing a different voice, hearing an enthusiastic voice that's not your parents' voice, kids respond to that.
Right.
And I think that we need to create more environments, more cost-effective environments, okay,
Right.
let me put that out there, that allow parents to be able to trust allowing their kids to get better with somebody else under a different voice. I've seen that to be very, very successful through the years, and it doesn't have to be, you know, out there on a travel baseball team or an AAU basketball circuit. It can be come in here, get better, have fun doing it, touch a sign on the way out. You mentioned it earlier.
Yep.
On the way in, it says, get better today. You say that with your girls, right?
Yep.
So we touch that sign on the way in. And on the way out, it says, I got better today. We touch that sign on the way out. If you did your job today, you can touch that sign on the way out. For me, I think that if you can give that additional voice, especially that positive voice, that, you know, because remember, if coach said it, that's what it is.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what the parents said.
Right.
Coach told me to do 10 push-ups today. Man, I've been telling you to do 10 push-ups for the last 5 years, right? But they're going to listen to coach, and that's where they're going to find that value.
And I think, you know, you mentioned, you know, touching the door, I got better today. And, you know, talking to, you know, sports coaches and either the sports performance guys earlier, getting kids to show up even on days they don't want to show up. You know,
yeah.
Some of those old school guys, you know, I'd hear my daughter's coach say, well, you know, this week is optional. No, it's not optional.
Can't be.
That's your option. There
Yeah.
is no option.
Right.
You know, and to getting kids and parents to understand that, you know what, little Johnny or Susie has to come in here on a consistent basis,
That's right.
whatever it is for their program, and has to put in that work.
Right.
And chances are, hour workout usually.
Yeah, hour
workout.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they could not feel well, their boyfriend could have broke up with them, or, you know, they didn't do well on a test, but they got to, you know, kind of look at it, and parents have got to do, I think, a better job.
Agree.
You know, we've gotten softer as parents.
Yes, we have.
Has to do a better job of kind of pushing those kids to do it when they don't want to.
That's right.
Because we know if we sit down and think what those benefits are going to be.
That's right.
How much, I guess, resistance from kids do you see these days of, you know, just kind of going through the motion, right? I mean, are there kids that don't slap the I got better sign? Because, you know, my grandfather used to say, if you can look in the mirror and say you gave your best today,
That's right.
you don't have any regrets.
That's right.
And you can't lie to yourself.
No, you can't.
You're like, oh, coach, I really worked hard today. You know, I was at home and I really did this. Okay, let's see what you're doing here.
That's right.
When eyes are on you,
Right.
you know, and the lights are on, and you know, talk about that a little bit. I mean, are you seeing, you know, kind of some half effort sometimes, or do you see, you know, I mean, if they're coming in here, chances are they're a pretty good athlete and they're, you know, kind of motivated.
Maybe, but more importantly, they might be able to get away with it with their parents.
Right.
Right? I don't want to do that, Mom. All right, well, you're going to do this instead or whatever. I let them know I'm not your mom and I'm not your dad. I'm not trying to be mean to them, but I'm saying, hey, man, we're not in here to play around. Like, we're going to have fun doing things the right way, but we're not in here to mess around. The hardest thing for these kids when they don't want to do it is getting in here.
Right.
So once they got in here, they're eager to touch a sign on the way out, you know? But what I find is that you're right. As parents, we've gotten soft. We didn't have choices back in the day. Kids have too many choices and options and all kinds of stuff these days. Right. You're right. I think we need to force our kids to perform when conditions aren't favorable. Because, I mean, how often are conditions all the way favorable for us? Not in just in sports, but in life. They're just not. They're not always like that. What makes you a good athlete, what makes you a good parent, what makes you a good student, what makes you a good teacher is your ability to overcome and adapt when situations aren't perfect. To the point where in my training, I try to create imperfect environments to allow them to adapt, right? Because the more that we can get them to start to move better or differently when things aren't perfect, the easier it is for them to adapt once they get on the court, on the field, on the course. And I'm starting to see that, yeah, some kids do have some resistance, but at the same time, when they can finally get them in here to me, I'm like, you know, what you got going on? I had a kid the other day where I told him, I said, why are you going through the motions, man? I said, hey, I believe in you. I said, you're acting like last year, man, when you first got here. Right. I said, why are you going through the motions? What are you expecting to achieve? The people you compete against out there that you keep beating, because he's good at what he does. Right. The kids that you keep beating, they're hungry. They want to beat you. And you're dragging your feet. Don't think that you won't get passed by. Exactly. It happens all the time, brother. Yep. So how we do anything is how we do everything. Our work ethic now is only going to continue to improve and increase as long as we stay consistent. And we cannot, we have to have standard over feelings. One of my mentors told me this. We cannot let our feelings dictate how we show up today. I don't really feel like the standard is the standard, right? The conditions will change, but the standards must remain the same.
Yep.
And it has to be that standard over those feelings. And if we can kind of get that through and let them know, hey, son, I know you don't want to do this today,
right.
but we're going to do this today.
Yep.
Because there's a bigger picture here at play. And trust me, you're going to feel better after you do it.
Right. I saw a video, Tom Brady, and I see this young kid, and he's a barber, and I see him on Facebook videos, and he gives out free haircuts to kids, and just talks to them about what they want and where they're going. Well, he gave one to Tom Brady, and Tom Brady said just that. He's like, to be great, screw your feelings.
Yeah.
I don't want to do, no, screw it. Go do it.
You got to go do it.
Whatever it is, just get out there and go do it. And I think, sports teaches so many lessons that, even as a coach, I forget the fact that I'm teaching them this lesson, or they're learning this lesson, and they have no idea they're learning it.
That's right.
So, parents have, I think we got to do a better job of, kind of pushing our kids a little bit more.
Yeah,
Hey, no,
we do.
need to go do this. Let's look at the long haul. We moved back from overseas. We taught overseas for 6 years, and our girls got into sports, and they were in middle school, and we said, you know what, to give them a better chance, we got to get them in an environment that's going to make them successful to be able to go. We got one in college right now playing, and hopefully this one graduates this year. You got one in college playing football, and Taj is 8th grade finishing up. So that's our goal, and they got to understand that this isn't just here to look good.
Right.
You got to put it to use to get down the road to where you're going to go, and eventually the air runs out of the balls for all of us.
It does.
You know what? You're still around all the sports, at the PGA Super Show and doing baseball and, doing all kinds of things. So there's an avenue, I think, for everybody, but the biggest thing is showing up every day.
That's it. That's it. You got to show up every day. You got to be willing to get better every day, to the point of facility. We're building a big facility down the street here in Ocoee. We broke ground a month ago. It's going to be ready to go November, December of this year. 5-acre campus. It's going to be over 100,000 square foot inside, 4 basketball courts, 8 volleyball courts, 6 batting cages, a recovery suite, a cafe, childcare. It's going to have bells and whistles and all that. And that's going to be great. Huge multi-purpose field outside. It's going to be amazing. But it's not amazing on its own. It's the people that make it amazing. It's the athletes. It's the coaches that are pouring into the people that want to utilize a resource like that to help further their own career. A good friend of mine, D. Gordon, mentioned it like this. He was talking to a young player who ultimately would win a World Series. And D. Gordon said, he's laying on the ground, and he said, this is our life, okay? He goes, here we're a kid, right? But right here, we're in a preparation phase to try to get to the professional ranks or what have you. Because if we do our job right here, then we can get to here. And if we can get to here, this is where we can create generational wealth. We can provide for our family. This is where we can set our life up to the fact that back here, we can enjoy it for longevity. But if at any level we screw that up, if I screw up my preparation phase, I don't make it to the bigger phase. If I get into the bigger, if I do all my preparation, get to the bigger phase, and I just kind of take a cat, I made it here now. No, when you make it, that's the beginning. That's not the end. But if I can truly do my job in each one of those phases, it's a beautiful life back here for your kids, for your grandkids, for your family, for your legacy. And I thought that was such an important point that he was making that day. And I was listening. He's several years younger than me, but I'm listening like, I get it. And it's the wisdom from people that have been there and done that, and that's the type of wisdom that these young people need. They need real living, breathing examples right in front of them that have been there and done that. Say, hey, listen, I did this. Right? I'm just trying to let you know. I know it's different for you now. As a matter of fact, it's more challenging for you now because everybody's training. Don't think just because you show up to a training session now you got a huge advantage. That's no longer the icing on the cake. That's just the cake now. Right? The icing is something totally different. It's the unrequired work. You're just doing the required stuff. You're showing up and you're doing the workouts that your coach tells you and that the trainer tells you. But what are you doing when you wake up in the morning? What are you doing before you go to bed at night? What are you doing in the garage when nobody's watching, nobody's talking to you? That's what's going to separate you as an athlete, and that's what's going to help you get better every day.
I think with so many specialized sports, I talked to a bunch of people. you know, with my two daughters with club volleyball, it's 8.5 months. Right after the season's over, week later, 2 weeks later, we're in the high school season.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, I think my daughter got blessed enough. We played in the Final Four this year. Lose on Friday. Monday was, I think, Veterans Day. Tuesday she was at club practice. 3 days off. I mean, that's all she gets. So, I mean, our bodies are getting beat up, but they still got to come in and do these workouts, you know, because it's going to help prevent injuries. It's going to help maintain them over this long season. And, you know, like you said, everybody's doing it. Now we're getting specialized volleyball trainers and lessons and basketball trainers. And, you know, there's so much stuff out there. But, you know, definitely just got to show up and get better every day.
That's it.
That's it. TA, how can everybody get a hold of you?
Yeah. Well, I am on Instagram, and I am on TikTok, kind of, but, you know, because my son told me I had to be on it. I think it's still available, but TA2 Claps, TA, the number 2 Claps. And I'm here at Apex Fit here in Ocoee. Like I said, we're building this big gym around the corner that is going to be definitely a gym. It's going to be something that people want to really come be a part of, you know. And for me, my motto, my company is always going to be better every day. Yeah. You know, better every day is something I got from my dad a long time ago, and he said, you can't get it all today, but you can get a little bit better every day. Yep. You have to be able to do that. And if you want to come see me in Ocoee, hit me up on Instagram, TA2 Claps, and let's get to work. You know, I look forward to the opportunity to help you get better.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, that 100,000, we can, you know, kind of carve out a little podcast studio where we can do some stuff.
We're also going to carve out a corner so that me and Coach Red can start getting to work and we can get him back to dunking again. So that's what we're looking forward to.
We'll see what these knees do. I definitely need to work. And, you know, TA, thank you so much, brother.
It's my pleasure, Coach. Really appreciate you, as always.
You know, I got so much respect for you and your family and, you know, the things that you guys been through in the last month and, or the last year, rather, and you know, with your family. But, you know, just love your energy. Love how, you know, you want to be great at what you do.
Yes,
you know, and I think that affects and infects all the people that you work with. So, you know, we appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Guys, hopefully, you know, some of these videos have given you some insight into the sports performance world. We had 3 great guests on today, you know, with Vidal at VFit, Hunter Woods at the Athlete Factory, and TA here at Better Every Day. Whether you're in Ocoee, South Orlando, Altamont Springs, Seminole County, find one of these guys, get better every day, and go be great. You know, sports performance is something that we have to do now as athletes. You know, it's an expense that, you know, as parents we have to, you know, make, you know, and a sacrifice that we make for our kids. But, you know, it is definitely an expense and a sacrifice that will pay off. So we appreciate you here at Coach Red and Company, and we thank you guys for watching.
Hey, 2 Claps.